Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. My name is Miles Thacker. I'm the Education Advisor at Fulbright, Columbia, as well as an Education USA Advisor. Today, I'm going to open a space for you all for questions that you may have concerning two of the requirements for the postgraduate scholarships for Fulbright, Columbia, for the cohort 2021-2022, concerning the letters of recommendation, as well as your CVs, so hoja de vida. So let's go ahead and get started. Just some housekeeping rules today. Make sure you have your headphones plugged in and your speakers on. You won't have access to your microphone, so if you have questions, write them in the questions box in your control panel. Please try not to repeat any questions that have been said, and you do not need to write the questions twice. Your questions will be replied to. This webinar will be recorded and shared on the YouTube page, so if you missed anything, you can go back to it and watch it. Also, if you'd like to watch it today, you can use the link that you used to register for this exam that you used to register for this webinar to watch the webinar again. Just an update for you all who haven't been to my other webinars. Some changes made due to the global pandemic. So we have made the call for applications longer until June 1st. Before it was at the beginning of May. Now we've opened it up until June 1st. We're now accepting English exams taken 3 years ago, 2017, June 1st. If you are uploading one of those exams, or any exam for that matter, please look at the terms of reference in order to guide you step by step how to upload your certain exam. How you upload your results or test report form number depends highly on when you took the exam, what exam you took, and what platform you're using, so what scholarship you're applying for. So make sure you look at your terms of reference for your scholarship and the most recent terms of reference to get that information. We're now taking the GRE, starting from June 1st, 2014, that's 6 years. The Fundación Fulbright is offering the TOEFL ITP exam. Remember that there are two different institutions. There's Fundación Fulbright, which we have just opened the opportunity for the TOEFL ITP at-home exam. And then there's ETS, which is a separate institution which offers the TOEFL IBT and GRE exams. So if you have concerns concerning the TOEFL ITP, you can contact the Fundación Fulbright. If you have concerns about the TOEFL IBT or the GRE, you will need to contact ETS directly. Other documents that will not be required for the application process, but will be required if you're nominated, are transcripts, certificate of ranking, and a few other documents depending on your scholarship. Let's briefly overview what makes a good CV or hoja de vida. So the committee that's looking over your CV can take a look at your achievements in academic and professional in a relevant, clear, and concise way. It's important that your CV is easy to read with a lot of blank white space. So longer does not mean more impressive, and we're looking for quality over length. So you want to make sure that your CV is very easy to read over. We're not looking at tons and tons and tons of information, just the most relevant information in a clear and concise way. Technical points for the CV: must be in English, maximum of 3 pages. It does not require a specific format, so it's up to you what format you use. Of course, do not make the font extremely small, as you don't know who's going to be reviewing that CV. In case they need extra support, maybe reading glasses, it might be hard for them to read a CV with text that is very small. So make sure it's easy to skim through and easy to look over your CV. Now let's talk about the letters of recommendation. The technical points, we're asking for 2 cards, professional and or academic. They can be in Spanish or English for the application process. And there is no required format. The recommendation is 1 page. We do ask that you have a header, so the header from the institution of which the recommender works at or is studying at or is a researcher at, and then a signature. I understand that due to COVID-19, this isn't always possible. So just remember those are only recommendations. If the letter does not have a letterhead or does not have a signature, we will still accept those letters. But my recommendation is if you can't do the handwritten signature, if your recommender does not have a scanner, you can do a digital signature. Just to inform you all, if you're applying to Pasaporte a la Ciencia, there's 2 types of cards, which are completely different in the way that you upload the cards, and they are different requirements. There's carta de presentación, and part of a professor or researcher, researcher known by MinCiencias. The professor does not need to be known by MinCiencias, just needs to be a professor of the university. And then there are 2 letters of recommendation. So the letters of recommendation, you're going to upload, you're not going to upload them, sorry. Your recommenders are going to receive an email through the platform. So you choose the recommenders, they receive an email, they upload the recommendation letters to the platform. With the carta de presentación, you are in charge of uploading that document. So they're very different, even the process of the way of which you upload them. One thing to note is the person who writes the carta de presentación is also allowed to write one of the letters of recommendation. There's no problem there. So one person writes the carta de presentación and a letter of recommendation, and then you get one other person to write another letter of recommendation. Remember, the carta de presentación is only a requirement for the scholarship Pasaporte a la Ciencia. Our last and final web session that we have planned for the postgraduate scholarships will be tomorrow at 12, and we'll talk about the platform's last pound slate and see if you have any questions. So thank you for joining me. Let's go ahead and open the space up to questions that you all may have. Annie is asking if the CV needs to have a photograph. I highly recommend not putting a photograph in your CV. Of course, we'll still accept it, but especially for universities, they do not want to see any photos. They don't want to see your age. They don't want to know your ethnic background because they want to make the process as objective as possible. So for your CV, try to not include a photo. Mateo, since I graduated last year, I was in the university, I founded my own business. Is this good profile for CV since I am an independent worker? Well, Mateo, it depends on the area of study that you would like to continue in the United States, but work experience always helps. especially in the area that you want to study. But just remember that work experience is not necessary to apply to any of the scholarships. Andres is asking, what is the format for the CV, even though there's not a required format? Just if you take a look at my webinar, Andres, which is uploaded in the YouTube page, it tells you, and it even gives you an example of a really nice looking CV. So I highly recommend taking a look at that. Also, if you want an example, you're welcome to email me at consejeria@fulbright.edu.co. This is just a basic example that I'm uploading from the Harvard website. It is nothing special specific for the Fulbright application process. It is just a recommendation, which is a clean, clear CV. So I can send you that if you would like. Actually, you know what I can do? I believe, yes. So I can upload it right now. So I'll share it all with you through the webinar. If you just wait one moment, please. Okay, so instead of emailing me, you can actually download that document right now. It's a template bullet. It should be right in your control panel. So take a look at that. You can download it. This is not a certified format that we are looking for Fulbright. It's just a simple personal recommendation that I'll offer to you all, which is clean and simple and easy to read, which is really what the people going over your applications would like to see, especially in the United States. The CV cannot be in Spanish. It must be in English or we will not accept it. Laura, good question. Buenas tardes, quisiera saber si en el CV es mejor quitar la sección de descripción del perfil. The description of your profile is more for jobs. So that's more for a resume, and a CV is more academic. So with your CV, I don't recommend that you have a big long paragraph that someone needs to read. Make sure that it's scannable and really easy to look through. So my recommendation, though you're welcome to do whatever you please, but I would take out that paragraph and maybe add some key points of your professional or academic career. So David, my second recommender has not been able to open the LostPal invitation to submit the letter. How can I send her the invitation again? So David, we at Fulbright, we don't have access to the management of the LostPal platform. You will need to go to LostPal support. So those are in the terms of reference, and you can find that email there. I believe it's, what is it, LostPal support or LostPal tech at LostPal. You'll have to check that in your terms of reference, but you'll need to contact them directly. So Nader is asking in this first part of the CV, should we put personal email with which we register the call, or should it be institutional email as requested by the format that you have provided us from Harvard? You should put the email that you applied for the scholarship with. The Harvard, remember, this is just you don't need to follow it step by step. It's not. It's just an idea for you. You don't need to take this template and do exactly as it says. Make sure you use the email of which you registered and the email which you use. So, Midalia, exactamente la misma información que está en CV debe ir en el CIVLAC. Yes, more or less. You will add almost the same information, right? Because the CIVLAC is CV LAC. So it's for for Columbia. It's a general database for you all to add your CV and for us to track it. So it's basically the same information. Nader, what types of information do you advise should be written in italics? I actually don't advise writing in italics on your CV, but it could be done. You could do italics with titles, maybe titles of articles or titles of institutions or quotes. So Nader, the thesis title is published language other than English should be translated, placed in English, as well as the names of the degrees. So you're going to add everything in English except for names of institutions, so universities or professional institutions where you worked. You will also not translate titles of articles that you have written. You're welcome to write right next to it a brief description in English of what it was, but it's really not necessary for this process because the people who are reviewing your applications can read in English and Spanish, so you don't need to translate the titles yet. When you apply for US universities, then it will be necessary. Diana, do we have the ability to upload letters of recommendation? No, you do not. You need to send the email to your recommender, and the recommender needs to upload it, or else the recommendation letter is invalid because the letter could have been changed by the applicant. So we're making sure that the letters come directly from the recommenders. But in the case of the carta de presentación, as this is not a letter of recommendation, it's just a carta de presentación with a compromise to write a report every year from the teacher or researcher. So this one you guys can upload yourselves in the additional documents section. Only for Pasaporte a la Ciencia. Mateo, should we include other courses like English skills at the Colombo Americano in the CV? You're welcome to include that, but we will have your English exam. So it's not necessary to mention your English level because we will see that from your English exam. So as long as you've uploaded your English exam, which is a requirement, so it's the only way we can accept your application, then it is not necessary to add that in your CV. Laura, el formato de la carta de recomendación puede ser como el carta de presentación, no con el mismo contenido, pero sí la estructura. Laura, you need to add all of the key points in your carta de presentación in anexo 4. It's la última página, the last page in the terms of reference for Pasaporte de la Ciencia, you need anexos. Depending if it's a professor or a researcher, you'll need certain types of anexos. Also, you will need a compromise. The professor will need to write that they will write an annual report for you while you're studying in the U.S. They also need to explain how the reto foco, the cinco retos o focos del país relates to their studies. So you need to make sure that you add all of those things. So they are different. Though a lot of the content in the carta de presentación, you can certainly take a lot of that out and put it right into a carta de recomendación. So you could literally use almost the same content, but definitely for the carta de presentación, you need to make sure you hit all of those key points or we won't accept the carta de presentación. Alberto, one of my professors asked me if you should write the letter in English because those letters might be sent to universities. What should I do? My recommendation, Alberto, if they can write it in English, that's fine. And yes, if you do pass to the nomination stage, you will need those letters in English eventually anyways. But if your professor does not speak very good English, if they are lower than a B2, I would say in English, I would not have them write it in English and I would have them write it in Spanish because it's more important the quality of the letter over it being in English or Spanish. Juan, if the recommendation letter had more than one page, is it bad for the application? Juan, if it's 1 or 2 pages, that's okay. If it's 3 pages, I think that's pushing it. We'll still accept it, but that is a bit much. So it should be about 1 or 2 pages. Daniel, bueno, pregunta, buenas tardes, la carta de presentación y las recomendaciones deben ser en inglés para Pasaporte a la Ciencia, gracias. Las cartas de recomendación pueden ser en inglés o español. La carta de presentación debe ser en español, porque debe ser escrito por un investigador reconocido por MinCiencias en Colombia o un profesor de Colombia. Los dos hablan español muy bien. Y también esas cartas de presentación son para la institución ICETEX, y ICETEX es una institución colombiana que reciben las cartas. Entonces, la mayoría de ellos hablan español. So, Laura, I already answered your question. Danielle, we are not giving telephone asesoría at this time due to we are all working from our houses. And it is a very, very busy time of year as it is the very last few weeks of the call for applications. So please write me an email with your questions. Angela, is a LinkedIn CV format valid for Fulbright scholarships? I'm not sure what that format is. You need it in PDF format. It needs to be 3 pages, and there is no requirement. So as long as it fits 3 pages, we will accept it. David, I believe that the slate allows you to upload 3 letters of recommendation, so does LASPA, so you're welcome to do that, but just remember the requirement is 2 letters. Natalia, academic achievement should be ranked from most current to oldest, or vice versa. That is correct, from current to oldest. If you want more information, please take a look at that webinar that is recorded and up on our YouTube page. Angela, what are the most successful points to mention on a CV for a scholarship? It needs to be clear, concise, and relevant. CCR. Clear, concise, and relevant. And it pertains to specifically what you are applying to. So what is the committee going to be looking for in your application? Make sure you add all of the information that pertains to the studies that you want to start in the United States. Alberto, in the process of finishing my master's, I have 3 years of experience in research. Should I admit my master's information, or is it okay to keep it in my CV? Alberto, you need to put your master's information in your CV. That is very important, and your research experience. And as Fulbright, we do accept research experience instead of master's degree, though we need to know if you are in the process of finishing a master's degree or if you have finished a master's degree, as it is a requirement for the Fulbright scholarships. Gustavo, ¿cuántos becarios escogen para la beca de doctorado en ciencias? This year we have 40 spots. It's possible that it could change, so be aware of that. But as of now, we have 40 spots. We have a question. I want to know if CV is better to include the activities developed or just position from the advisor without techniques and activities. It depends on what the activity is. If it's a certificate, you don't need to add details about a certificate. If you are adding to your CV professional work experience or professional work experience, you're going to want to add bullet points explaining your achievements. And you'll start with an action verb. For more information on that, please take a look at the recorded version of the CV SOP or the CV letters of recommendation webinar. So Mariana, we have answered that question. Okay, Ana Maria, there are 3 letters of recommendation that can be uploaded. If only 2 of the 3 professors upload them, is that okay? Yes, as long as we receive 2 letters of recommendation. If we are missing a letter of recommendation, we will not proceed with your application, and it will be disqualified. Mariana, is it recommended to you to put teaching experience in the CV? It depends, but certainly if you have experience or professional experience, you should add that. And if you're applying for master's or doctorate level, that is also very important, especially if you plan to do a teaching assistantship to show that you do have teaching experience. Lucía, en el caso de la beca Min Cultura, ese profile es en realidad un statement. ¿Recomiendas no ponerlo tampoco? It's really up to you if you'd like to add that or not. But I would advise against adding paragraphs to your CV. Natalia, I do believe I've already answered this question. Do you recommend placing personal data such as age, telephone number, citizenship? Do not add citizenship, do not add age, do not add a picture, don't add ethnic background. At least for US universities, they don't want to see any of this information because they want to make the application process as objective as possible. So I advise against putting your age, citizenship. You may put your telephone number, that is not a problem. And for any CV or resume, but do not put demographical background of yourself on that. Diana, we have mentioned that already. Que Daniel, ¿hay algún problema si colocan las fechas completas? Por ejemplo, el año, pero sin el mes. Gracias. So if you have the year without the month, it will be very confusing for the person who's reading it. You need to add the month. If it's just education background, you have a better idea because we know that a master's degree takes 2 years. We know that a bachelor's takes 4 years. So if you add that information, just add the graduation date. But for professional experiences, you do need to add the month and the year, because if you put 2017 to 2018, that could have technically only been 2 weeks that you worked there, because you finished in December 2018 and you started in January 2019, something like that. So make sure you do add the month. Very important. You don't need to add the day, but you need to add the month and the year. Diana, should we include publications in the CV? Yes, you should. Catalina, how should you put in the links of your articles? That's really up to you. You can be creative with it. You can add the whole link. It's really long. Maybe you should just add a shortcut to the link. The recommendation letters have a limit of pages. They technically do not, but I would say 1 page, 2 pages maximum for those letters of recommendation. David, I have worked in indigenous schools. Do I have to translate the names of the schools? Just make it so the person who is reading it understands that it is a school. So make sure you say colegio or universidad at some point with the name of the university or school. Okay, so CivLac is pretty much the same as your CV. So you can pretty much put the same information in your CV as your CivLac. Lise, so to look at this video on YouTube, you'll have to wait because this is a live event and we will need to download it and upload it to YouTube. So you can, maybe you're talking about the previous webinar. So the previous webinar of letters of recommendation and CV, you just go to our YouTube page and you can take a look at our recent webinars and you will certainly find it there. Laura, the carta de presentación is written by a researcher or by me. That's written by the researcher or professor, depending on who you choose. But you will upload that document. They won't be able to upload that document. So they will fill it out, they'll send it to you, and you will upload it. ¿En qué lugar de las se especifica cartas de recomendación? You'll have to look at your terms of reference. I believe it's either numeral 15 or 16. I don't remember the exact number, but it's kind of hidden. It's at the very bottom of the page. and it's just a link. All they give you is one link, but this is a very special link only for your application. And this link, you are able to add names and emails of the recommenders. Those recommenders receive the emails, and they're able to send those letters directly to LostPal. So it's a separate platform, but they give you a very special link that you use, and this link is only for you to use. Mariana, internships done while studying classify as professional experience? Yes, that can classify as special experience. It's really up to you how you organize your CV, which is why we make it open. Because it depends. Some people have a lot of teaching experience, so they'll have a whole section of teaching experience. Some people have a whole section of volunteering experience. Some people just have a section that says other experiences, which include volunteering and certificates and other things. So it really depends a lot on your personal background. So, but if you would like to, if you only have one internship, you can add that in professional experience. Diego, la carta de presentación también toman en cuenta para el proceso de selección de la beca o solo para ICETEX. Pues prácticamente la carta de presentación es un requisito para ICETEX. Entonces tenemos que tener esa carta para tener su aplicación en cuenta. Entonces si usted no tiene ese requisito, usted no pasará la siguiente etapa, que es evaluación académica. En general, sí es posible que los evaluadores van a leer esta carta de presentación, entonces ten en cuenta que es de calidad, pero la mayoría del tiempo las de evaluación académica es las cartas de recomendación, exámenes, ensayos y experiencias. Natalia, can I see the letter of recommendation when my recommenders have uploaded to the platform? Natalia, you cannot see it. My recommendation is you ask your recommender to not only upload the recommendation to the platform, but they send it to you as well for your personal for your personal archives. Because let's say in a year, which is possible, you win the scholarship and you're applying to U.S. universities. And you're reading over the letter of recommendation and you have some adjustments you would like to do, or you need to translate it, you're able to send it to U.S. universities. But the good thing is you already have the letter. So make sure that you ask for the letter be sent directly to you as well as the platform. Alberto, is Arial 10 good font size for the CV? For the CV, I would recommend around 11 or 12 because when it gets really small, it's hard for the committee to read it. So I would recommend around 11 or 12. Juan Camilo, should the CV have personal references? No, because you will have the recommendation letters. And it's better that way because then you'll have more space to add more experience because you do only have 3 pages. Linio, so is asking if he would like to include a portfolio. I'm guessing this is for Min Cultura or related work and videos. Can these be presented on a website? Yes, so you can add a link in your CV or in your essay to this specific information. Now, right now, a portfolio is not required to apply for the scholarships of Fulbright if you're applying for art degrees, but of course, a portfolio will more than likely be required when you're applying to the universities in the United States. So just keep that in mind. Diana, I cannot answer that question. The question is, how many applicants do you expect to have this year for Pasaporte a la Ciencia? I mean, last year we had, I can't tell you how many we had for Pasaporte a la Ciencia, but for 66 scholarships in total, we had about 470 applications. This year might be different due to COVID, so I really can't give you a good estimate of how many will apply this year. Valeria, where can we send letters of recommendation? You need to look at the terms of reference. In the back of the terms of reference, it's either Anexo 3 for Pasaporte a la Ciencia or Anexo 1 for the other scholarships. And that is the instructivo de la aplicación con la plataforma. So it depends on your scholarship, but it will tell you there. Ana María, acerca de cupos de beca en ciencias, mencionas que pueden cambiar. ¿Por qué podría ser? Y serían más o menos cupos. So Ana María, I really can't tell you if they will increase or decrease, but it's possible that they could change. And that's the only information that I can give at this time. Alberto is saying that he has research experience, but due to the coronavirus situation, he's not sure when he will graduate with his master's. What do you think this will be an issue? So we need the people who are finishing master's degrees to finish in 2020 by December. Hopefully that shouldn't be an issue if you're already on track for that. And really, we don't know what's going to happen. So my suggestion is just apply. If you're on track to graduate for December 2020, just apply. And if we come across issues, we can work them out when they arise. As for your research experience, if you have 2 years of research experience after your pre-graduate degree, so if that was during your master's degree and you have 2 years or more, put that experience in your CV and add that to your application, because that will also count as the requirement, just in case. Mateo, Pasaporte a la Ciencia is only available for 20, or can that number change? It could change, but I cannot tell you if it will or not. Due to the global situation, it's possible that the numbers of the scholarships could change, but as of now, we are still set with 40 for Min Ciencias, 20 for Pasaporte a las Ciencias, 3 for Min Cultura para Artistas, 3 for Líderes para Afrodescendientes, and 1 for Líderes para one for Líderes Indígenas. ¿A quién debe dirigida la carta de recomendación? Puede ser a quien corresponda, or to whom it may concern. It does not need to be specific towards Fulbright, or definitely not any other institution. Santiago, how long should the letters of recommendation be? 1 to 2 pages, but there is no requirement. Lucia, if I speak other languages, do you recommend to put it on the CV? So if you speak English, you don't need to put it on the CV because we're receiving your English exam results. Any other languages, French, German, Portuguese, any other language that you speak, I would certainly add that in your CV, yes. David, where can I upload my job certifications in Lost File? David, we are not accepting your job certifications. Also, if you add extra certifications, it makes it more difficult for the committee to review your application. So please do not add any documents that we do not require. Only add the specified documents in your terms of reference that we require. Lucia, recommendation letters are documents that my recommenders have to upload onto the platform, or do they have to write directly on the platform? So it depends on which platform you're using. I believe Slate gives you the option to write it, but it's optional. We are only asking that they upload it. So upload it in PDF format. They do not need to write it on the platform. They only need to upload a PDF document. Alberto, can I admit the authors for published work in my CV? The names take a lot of space and are available in the CivLab anyways. Yeah, you can take out those names if you'd like to save space, because some articles have lots and lots of names. My recommendation is add a link to that article on your CV. So if they want to double check your work, or if they want to check their names, they can check it with that link. David, I'm applying to Lideres Indígenas, and CivLac is not mandatory for us. Can I include a link that leads to my certifications? David, we don't need to see those certifications, the job certifications. You're welcome to include a link if you'd like, but we won't be checking your certifications. We're only just going to take your word for it in your CV. So make sure that you had correct and up-to-date information. So in case you are nominated and we eventually ask for those certificates, that you have those on hand. But as for now, only add the certificates that we're asking for. David, the recommendation letter must be sent directly from the professors. Yes, David, it must be sent directly from the professors. We will not accept letters of recommendation uploaded from you. You need to take a look at the terms of reference because it explains in very good detail how you need to upload those letters of recommendation. So Arnie, ¿cuál es la diferencia entre carta de recomendación y carta de presentación? So I explained this in my previous webinar. I also explained it today a little bit. So you can either take a look at this webinar that we did today, or you can take a look at the detailed webinar, which is Sesio Informativo, explaining the differences between those two letters. So that you'll find that on the Sesión Informativa de CV y cartas de recomendación. But you will also find that in your terms of reference. It explains explicitly the difference between those two. So if you look at Anexo 4 in the terms of reference, Pasaporte de la Ciencia, that is your outline for Carta de Presentación. Versus there's a section in the terms of reference that explain what the letters of recommendation are. So make sure you look at the two differences, but yes, they are different requirements. Alberto, can we include publications that have been accepted for publication? So yeah, if you're in the process of a publication, I believe there are certain terms you can put next to the publication. I believe in process or pending, or there's certain terminology that you use as a researcher to tell in what part of the process your article is in. So you're going to want to add that in your CV if you have not actually published the article yet. Mateo, should I add skills and hobbies related to the field of study in the CV? Yeah, you're welcome to add a quick, short section about your skills and hobbies, whether it's scuba diving or cycling or things maybe not directly related to your experience. If it's directly related to your experience and a certificate, definitely put that in your CV. Other than that, you can put just those general hobbies that you have near the end of your CV and maybe just a bullet point or one sentence. So you don't want to elaborate on it, but you can add it very briefly. Alberto, undergraduate research internship experience, is that okay to include? Yes, certainly. You can add that either under your education experience or you can add that under other experiences or certificates or professional experience. Well, it looks like we have finished our time. Thank you all so much for attending this webinar. If you have any further questions, you're welcome to contact me, consejeria@fulbright.edu.co. The telephone is not in service right now because we are not at the office. For information, most recent information, please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The global pandemic is constantly changing, and we're constantly receiving new news about it every day. Therefore, the scholarships are constantly changing, and we're making adjustments. So it's really important that you follow us on social networks to know about the most recent activities or changes to our scholarships. But as of now, the scholarship for postgraduate degrees for this year, for the cohort 2021-2022, will end on the 1st of June. So make sure you upload all of those documents and you finish your process as soon as possible with the amount of time that you have. And of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me at consejeria@fulbright.edu.co. Have a lovely afternoon. Stay home and stay safe.